Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, welcome to my channel. I am Jamie Beth. Today we're going to do part 3 of our most haunted places within each state. So again, I am going to talk about at least, I think, 13 states now. And we're going to just mention a couple really haunted places within those states. We are going to jump right in and start with Missouri. This modest brick home at 8435 Roanoke Drive in a quiet neighborhood of St. Louis may not look like much from the outside, but the events that inspired the iconic film The Exorcist took place inside. According to local lore, the son of the family that lived in the house was possessed by a demon while playing with an Ouija board. When priests arrived to the home, they found the boy's bed shaking and witnessed scrapes and welts spontaneously appearing on his skin. These scratches and welts sometimes formed letters or words. And then, of course, the infamous exorcism, which actually took place at the local university, followed. Next, we're going to talk about the Galore Psychiatric Museum. Opened to house the mentally ill in 1874, the museum now houses exhibits that include medical equipment and tools that were used on patients while they were at the asylum. It also includes 453 nails swallowed by a patient who once stayed at the asylum. By the early 1950s, there were nearly 3,000 beds in this asylum. They were forced to undergo unspeakable treatments. Former workers at the hospital reported seeing shadowy figures walking about and hearing sounds and movements and having a feeling of being watched or followed. There are reports of moaning, screaming, and crying, and even an apparition of a man near the former morgue. Others have reported a voice of a man yelling, "Get out." Moving along to Montana. In Montana, we are going to talk about the Daly Mansion in Hamilton. Marcus and Margaret Daly's mansion is now a museum, and staff members reported a number of strange occurrences, like cigar smoke coming from Marcus' office despite strict no smoking regulations. There's also a specific painting that is always found on the ground, and they have to hang it back up every morning. If any of these places really pique your interest, let me know in the comments below and I'll do a more in-depth story on them. I do know some of these descriptions are a little vague. Next up is the Fairweather Inn, and this is located in Virginia City, Montana. If you've ever been borderline homicidal because the kids in the next hotel room won't shut the hell up, steer clear of the Fairweather Inn. The lone hotel in this former gold mining town is said to be haunted by the ghosts of children who get into all types of shenanigans. They move your luggage, turn the lights on and off, and generally annoy the bejesus out of you. The city's now closed Bonanza Inn was also said to be haunted by the ghost of an old nun who was presumably better behaved. Moving along to Nebraska, and in Nebraska we're going to talk about the Seven Sisters Road. We all get mad at family members, right? They always tick us off, especially it seems like during the holidays. Sometimes tempers flare a little bit trying to create the perfect holiday season for our families, and sometimes we don't get along. I mean, it happens, but most of the time we all get over it. We don't take our 7 daughters out to separate hills and kill them, as one deranged Nebraskan man did. The road that runs between the site of each gruesome crime is marked as County Road L on the map, but it's named after the sisters who have died there. Cars driving through routinely report headlights going dim or electrical systems failing completely, leaving their cars stalled in an eerie darkness, with the screams of young women echoing through the hills. Now this is something I want to do a little bit more of a deep dive in. This story is crazy. Moving along, Centennial Hall in Valentine is the state's oldest standing school. It's also the home to some truly tragic events. In 1944, a female student was reportedly killed by a poisoned clarinet reed. The school has since converted into a museum, but many, especially teachers, report feeling uneasy in the space, and the sounds of the clarinet can sometimes be heard coming from the music room, even though there are no longer any instruments in the building. On to our next state, which is Nevada. In Nevada, we're going to talk about the Mitzvah Hotel in Tonopah. And hopefully I said that right. I don't think I did. I apologize if I say any of these, if I pronounce any of these places incorrectly. Legend has it that the lady in red haunts this saloon/hotel, though few agree who the spirit is. Some suggest she was a prostitute who was murdered on the 5th floor, while others believe she was a woman whose husband killed her for cheating. Moving along to the Clown Motel. This really old school motel is the home of a collection of 2,000 clown figurines and some seriously ghostly vibes, which makes sense when you put a motel next to a really old dilapidated cemetery in a small town with mining ruins. I mean, this is just the setup for a great scary movie. A gentleman by the name of Haim Anand bought the motel a couple years ago. He did some renovations to make the rooms more comfortable. So at least you'll be wetting a very comfortable bed. He also embraced the scariness by converting some rooms into horror themes, in case the Clown Motel in the middle of a desert wasn't scary enough. Okay, now on to New Hampshire. We have the Chase House in Portsmouth. In 1877, the Chase House was founded as an orphanage. In recent decades, staff have reported lights and ceiling fans turning on and off by themselves, while others have heard disembodied screaming and footsteps. The spirit of a small girl has been seen in the hallways, and when you approach her, she runs away and disappears. The next location we're going to talk about is the Mount Washington Hotel and the tale of Carolyn Stickney. And this tale sounds like the worst Disney princess story ever. She married the hotel's founder, who died right before construction was completed. She then remarried into European royalty. She passed soon after she was married. Now, it is said that she's never really checked out of Mount Washington Hotel. You can sometimes see her hazy apparition in photos. She floats around hallways and is a regular fixture in room 314. In this room 314 is her 4-poster bed that she actually slept in. So this bed remains in this room, and you can still hear her voice sometimes. Moving along to New Jersey. In New Jersey, we're going to talk about the Seabrook Wilson House in Port Monmouth. Known informally as the Spy House, this Sandy Hook Bay building is one of the oldest buildings on this list. Dating back to 1663, it was originally used as a tavern during the Revolutionary War, when innkeepers would listen to conversations between British soldiers and relay the information to the Patriots. Specters seem to be drawn to this building and have been spotted throughout the property. Moving along to the Devil's Tree, located at 181 Mountain Road in Basking Ridge. Out of context, the tree silhouette alone is enough to inspire nightmares. A warped, half-dead oak looming in the middle of a lonely field with dozens of axe marks lining its trunk. And there's the gruesome history. Supposedly, it was a meeting place for the KKK, notorious suicide site, and rumored getaway to the depths of hell. The Devil's Tree is infamous among locals and has evolved into a chilling tourist attraction. Legend has it, anyone who harms the tree will suffer swift and violent death. Moving on to New Mexico, we're going to talk about the Lunatic Mansion in Los Lunas. This mansion was built for the powerful Luna and Ontario families in the 1800s. Josephetta Ontario is said to have been particularly attracted to the property. She made massive improvements to the home, cared for the gardens, and produced many of the artworks still on display. Otero's ghost began appearing in 1970s in bedrooms, the attic, and in her rocking chair. For a chance to see Otero, simply make a reservation to the Luna Mansion, which is now a steakhouse, and to the Chemo Theater in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's said that the historic theater is haunted by a little boy named Bobby, who tragically died in the theater in 1951 when a water heater in the lobby exploded. Performers and the theater staff sometimes leave small toys and presents to distract Bobby and keep him from disrupting the show. When he's not amused, Bobby has been known to cause technical difficulties. On to New York. In New York, we're going to talk about the United States Military Academy. If the Tudor-style architecture and all-around dismal creepiness of this campus don't give you the heebie-jeebies, then the school's reported ghost sightings will. Back in 1972, cadets claimed to have seen a ghost in an antiquated school uniform roaming around the room 4714, a room that is no longer in use. Other ghost stories have made their way into the school's chatter. Most notably, the ghost of former Superintendent Colonel Thayer's Irish maid, Molly, who haunts the basement of Quarters 100, tousling the bed covers in an otherwise orderly room and borrowing the moving guests' possessions. Hollywood-style hauntings are rampant at this former Kaufman Astoria Studios commissary. Built in 1920, it served as a cafeteria for both movie stars and crew. Old school actors like Rudolph Valentino, Mary Pickford, Gloria Swanson, and W.C. Fields all filmed here. Visitors to what was previously called the Astor Room restaurant have reportedly spotted a woman with a vintage cigarette holder in the ladies' bathroom, who disappears after a second glance. I don't know about you, but I don't know why I find that so cool. I would think that was pretty neat to see. Another mysterious woman dressed in old-fashioned clothing makes spooky appearances on the staircase. Valentino, the silent movie heartbreaker who filmed at the studios and died at just 31 years old in 1926, allegedly still tries to sneak in some bar time by haunting the place, as well as many Los Angeles venues. Moving along to North Carolina, murder and madness at the Mayo House. There's a house in Tarboro, North Carolina, which stands as a reminder of gruesome crime that happened long ago. The house was owned by the respected Mayo family until one terrible night when Mr. Mayo completely snapped. In a fit of rage, he ended up murdering his entire family, even the family dog. The story goes that when he finally came to, he couldn't believe what he had just done. He was so overtaken with grief that he decided to hang himself in the house. Some say if you visit the house, the family will be waiting for you there. At first, you'll see the dog in the front yard, which will chase you onto the porch where you'll be met by the Mayo family. If you dare go in the Mayo house, the door will immediately slam shut behind you and the family disappears, and all that's left is a noose dangling over your head. I don't know about you, but I think I'll pass on this one. Beware of the Hitchhikers in Greensboro. In Greensboro, there is an old overgrown underpass that has been dubbed Lydia's Bridge. On rainy nights, drivers have said to see the young woman in a white evening gown on the side of the road trying to flag down a passing car for a ride home. Over the years, many drivers have claimed to give her a ride, and every time the story is the same. She climbs into the back seat of the car, says that her name is Lydia, and that she has been to a dance. She gives an address that's not too far away, and for the rest of the ride, she stays quiet but looks concerned. When the driver stops to let her out, she's no longer there and has essentially vanished. Lydia actually died in a car crash on her way home from a high school dance, and her mother, heartbroken, never left the house after. They say she stayed in every night until she died, waiting for her daughter to come back home. Moving along to North Dakota. The Children's Museum at Yunker Farm in Fargo. Inside this 1876 farmhouse, turned children's museum is an elevator rumored to work on its own, and the friendly ghost of the building's former owner, Elizabeth Yunker. She has been spotted upstairs guarding the children in the second floor exhibits. And again, if any of you have been to any of these places that I mentioned in any of these videos, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions, and you know, if you have any stories of your own to share. Moving along to Fort Abraham Lincoln State Park. During the Halloween season, you will see this park teeming with teenagers in costumes, as it's home to a zombie-filled haunted attraction, the Custer House, once home of the same general who was slain in Little Bighorn. The general's wife is still said to roam their preserved home in the fort complex in a black dress, slamming doors and showing up to give people chills. I believe Custer himself roams the grounds too, though others think the ghosts of the Blue are other soldiers who never got mortally discharged from duty. The park is still open, so while you won't find teenagers in costumes right now, you might just come across a widow standing for her husband to come home from battle. The Athens Lunatic Asylum. Bridges, formerly known as the Athens Lunatic Asylum, was a mental hospital for over 100 years until its closing in 1993. Patients included violent criminals, Civil War veterans, and children, and notoriously known for the use of lobotomy procedures, hydrotherapy, and electroshock treatment. The asylum also has a cemetery where the deceased patients were buried. Rumors indicate it's now a hotbed for paranormal activity. Moving along to the Ohio State Reformatory. Ohio has its fair share of creepy stuff. This massive stone castle is basically hell disguised as Hogwarts. A majestically spired campus housed over 200,000 inmates over its history from 1896 to 1990. A tour through here on a normal day is grim. But during scare season, it transforms into the largest prison-based haunted attraction in America. And that would be, honestly, I would go to that haunted house. I would totally do it. The cells and hallways are filled with undead inmates and faucets dripping blood, turning the already creepy reformatory into a bona fide nightmare through November 1st, which after it returns back to an old haunted prison. I would totally do that haunted house. Has anyone done that haunted house? Let me know. I do believe that I'm going to be doing a more in-depth story on the Ohio State Reformatory as well in the future, but this place is crazy, and I would love to know if anyone's actually gone to that haunted house, because I totally would do it. We're going to now talk about the Saint Vincent'S home in Oklahoma City. From 1945 until the 1980s, the Brothers Mercy operated Saint Vincent'S as a mental hospital. Stories of staff members killing patients and patients killing staff members had led people to believe the abandoned property is haunted by tortured ghosts. And to the Skirvin Hotel. Opening in 1911, this hotel has established itself as a place that nobody wants to leave. It is a collection of every haunted hotel story all crammed together. There are ghosts of the original owner's mistress and his illegitimate child, who still roam the halls with a stroller. You'll hear crying babies and slamming doors. You might even find yourself groped in the shower. Oh my gosh. A while back, this hotel proved to be a little too scary and creepy for some LA Laker players that were in town. Eventually they checked out and found accommodations that had fewer handsy ghosts and crying children. We are moving on to Oregon and the Pittock Mansion in Portland. I put a lip color on and I decided to take it off and try something different because I didn't really like the way it looked. So let's go on to Oregon. Sweeping views of Portland may make this 46-room estate even more enchanting, but visitors to the House Museum should also look out for ghostly apparitions. Georgiana and Henry Pittock passed away within a year of one another, but rumor has it that they still call the mansion home. Moving along to the Edgefield Hotel. Just outside of Portland, Oregon is Troutdale. The McMenamins Company is known just as well for their peculiarities as they are for their catalog of pubs and breweries. That includes their legendary UFO Fest, an annual 2-day celebration of all things extraterrestrial, along with their historic Edgefield Hotel. The hotel spanned 74 acres of farmland, just up from the Columbia River Gorge, may distract you, but keep an eye out. Before this hotel was a beloved getaway, it was the Multnomah County Poor Farm, which once included a hospital wing and jail. During the 1950s, before the original site fell into disrepair, the farm treated patients with tuberculosis and mental illnesses, some of whom supposedly still roam the grounds of the now hotel, and a few of whom are allegedly still buried in unmarked graves on site. So that wraps up part 3 of our most haunted places within the 50 states. We are going to start part 4 with Pennsylvania. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up. Remember to hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, as well as the notification bell next to it to be notified of all of my upcoming videos. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.